Okay, so yeah, thank you everyone for coming to the next Women's Cycling Community meeting. So today the focus was all on social media and marketing. So we're going to look at how we can use online tools sort of to promote our sessions, our clubs, our events, to try and get more women and girls cycling, looking at how we can hopefully reach a new audience. And obviously, we're being joined by Lizzy tonight. So I think everyone obviously knows Lizzy, West Wales Women and Girls Coordinator. So Lizzy is going to take us through some of the stuff that she's done in this area. Yeah, talk about her experience, some top tips. I believe we will find out. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then after that, we'll have a chance to have some questions and maybe have just like a bit of an informal discussion in this area. So I'll pass straight over to you, Lizzy.
Diolch, Rhian. Yeah, thank you. I will just share my screen. Oh, so bear with me while I do the tech as well. Can you see my screen? Yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, so hello. Yeah, I'm Lizzy Felton, Women and Girls Area Coordinator for Southwest and West Wales. So my yeah, thanks so much to Fionn for asking me to do this. I had a quick chat before we started, and I'm really aware that marketing doesn't sound as tangible as getting people on bikes in terms of, actually the process of actually riding the bike, or we've had like nutrition talks and talks around menopause, and I was thinking, oh, will anyone turn up? So firstly, it's lovely to see everyone here. But yeah, so marketing and communication to support women and girls in cycling. Um, so yeah, hello and close up. Yeah, a little intro, and again, thanks for coming. I'd just like to say thanks for Fionn for asking me to do this as well, because I feel like she recognizes different like areas across women and girls cycling, and it was really nice to be asked to do this. But we often have a monthly update on the development of women and girls cycling in Wales as part of our role. And when I started the role, I specifically felt there was an area of focus on younger girls, to how could I communicate with them. And I set Merched Cycling. So bit by bit, I've used it as a tool, as like a marketing and communication tool. But it's kind of got a little bit, it is quite addictive, but yeah, I find that monthly update of seeing how things chop and change and grow and how we can talk to each other across digital platforms has become quite a powerful tool, not just on a local level, but on a wider level. We've seen the growth of women's cycling develop phenomenally over the past few decades, and more so the past 5 years. And digital marketing has definitely been part of that. So just a little bit about background on me. There's two pictures there. There's 20 years apart between those pictures. One's me, age 19, in the British Crit Champs in 2020. Five, and then the other one is me last year, age 39. I'm a whole year older now at 40. But yeah, I've basically been loving my bike for a very long time. My professional work is in marketing. I'm a commercial marketing officer, predominantly in arts marketing, which is really helpful because that creative approach to anything is something I find quite energizing. But with facts and figures everywhere, actually finding that sense of why we love a bike in a creative way. I've tried to really draw on my knowledge to try and encourage others. So this is quite nice how like my worlds merge really. So I have 18 years of marketing insights. So I've tried to condense them into the best top tips I feel will be useful. The world is fast changing, and in more recent years, we're now seeing how AI is infiltrating every element of our life, and marketing is changed so much. Like when I started, it was a case of writing letters, putting them in an envelope, sending them off to the post. This is giving my age away, but now we can talk to thousands of people instantly, within seconds. Um, so my aim has always been, to be encouraging, warm, and supportive, and in a world of trends, opportunities, marketing platforms, time, resources. I think to really focus on what we want, is really important, because it can get a bit overwhelming. I don't know about you, but I get quite shocked sometimes in my own screen time. More so that I think what I'll try and explain is, do what you can with marketing to, communicate with, to get women on bikes, but you need to draw a line, and consider your own, your own mental health and well-being. So yeah, my aim is always to be encouraging, and supportive, but always focus on well-being and best practice, because there's a wealth of opportunities and it can feel quite overwhelming sometimes. So try and use social media marketing. Don't let it, overpower you. I don't know if anyone else feels like that, but yeah, there's just so many opportunities. Um, so yeah, our aim and our objectives. I think this is important because, as I said, there's so many things we could do. So essentially, we want to support, the existing women's cycling network. We've got a great network. It's really lovely to be part of, and I think we're all very strong at, finding our own ways to support it. Essentially, we want to see more women and girls on bikes. So our core aim, I feel, in every element that we do, whatever the discipline, or methods, is to increase the number of women and girls participating in cycling, and how marketing can support this. Marketing is a powerful tool that helps us. It can showcase women and girls on bikes in ways that previous generations have never seen. I recently did a talk for International Women's Day, and this is quite a core part of my upbringing, but I grew up in rural, Wales, north of Aberystwyth, and I had like a kind of a very traditional rural, childhood. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love my bike as an adult, because just riding a bike feels so liberating. But we'd get Cycling Weekly every single week in our house, and I'd love reading it. And I'd read it every week. And it by the age I was about 8 or 9, I suddenly realized that there were no women in the magazines whatsoever. They wouldn't feature on the front page. There were no articles. And then I remember hitting my teens, and there was an article on Nicole Cook, and I was blown away. It was such a powerful, visual to see another woman on a bike. And I remember we'd always watch the Tour de France, and again, it would always be men. And as a child, I think, oh, I'd love to do that. And then the realization, actually, none of them are women. And then I remember thinking, well, how can I ride my bike as an adult? And the only person I ever saw who's a woman riding a bike as a profession was the postman. And then that one day of seeing Nicole Cook I found it really liberating. But, in the 90s and noughties and previous generations, we just did not see those women represented on bikes. Whereas now, while social media, we're seeing evidence how it is, it can be very detrimental to mental health, and how we navigate that is something I think we'll see evolve over the coming years. But the strength to this is we're now seeing women and girls on bikes in ways that previous generations have just never seen, and this is, I feel, is very powerful. So we can see how that's represented in all levels of participation, from beginners to elite athletes. So while we're seeing women turn up at races or breeze rides, or their first time joining a club, when we can evidence that, we're sharing stories and sharing them out to so many more people. While it just seems like a click of a button onto social media, actually the what it represents is really quite wonderful, and we've all got that opportunity. So yeah, we can strengthen communication across the cycling networks. We can use it to inspire participation through visibility and storytelling. The key objectives for all of us, and however we choose use it is through effective marketing and communication. We can aim to remove barriers to participation by making cycling feel accessible, build confidence by celebrating real stories and relatable experiences, and create a sense of belonging by fostering inclusive and supportive communities. I get random messages every now and then. So I'll put stuff out all the time. So like Fionn will pop something in our, community practice group. And then I think all of us in different ways start forwarding it on to different groups that we're in. And one day I was just dropping one of my daughters off at swimming, and another mum said to me, Lizzy, those things you keep sending them to me. I know I never reply, but keep sending them. And I was like, oh, good God, I'm so glad, because there's that sense sometimes we send stuff on and we think nobody's really reading them. But even if it's that one person who picks it up and in a few months' time decides to finally fix that puncture and get out on their bike, we're never really going to quite know how powerful that spreading those key messages, and there's little opportunities that we share around the effect that they have. But yeah, I've popped little pictures in because I love a picture. But the backstory to this was the Welsh Cyclocross Championships last year, and Ruby here is on the podium with her little babe, and I got a picture of everyone on the podium and published it that evening. But these little stories, while Ruby's story is totally phenomenal, being able to capture it was wonderful. But what we don't know is the amount of women who will have seen that, and the stories, how that unfolds to as individuals, how we think about that. It might just be a 21-year-old girl who has no plans on ever becoming a mum, but it might just drop a little idea in her thoughts to think, actually, if I do have a baby in the future, then, I can be, the chance to still race with the baby is still there. But I just remember when I was growing up in my teens and 20s, the women I looked up to, I didn't really think about how I was looking up to them. But now, as I reach 40, I do look back at my 20s, and I'm really aware that these women were a really powerful part of my, my cycling journey. So essentially what I'm saying is, by sharing these messages, they don't feel as tangible as actually riding a bike, but they do help that growth and supporting women on bikes. So yeah, what is marketing? I've had a little ramble already, but yeah, marketing is the art and science of understanding people and connecting them with something valuable. It can be massively time consuming. So the aim of this is to make it more efficient in supporting our objectives. There's multiple ways of doing things, so I wouldn't get too concerned about getting it right or wrong. Just that consistency is really really powerful. Essentially, we want more women and girls on bikes, and marketing is such a fantastic tool to support this. With current digital trends, we can see women and girls on bikes in ways. Sorry, I'm really capping a little bit. So from beginners to elites, marketing communications is such a powerful tool to support the network. In women's cycling, marketing is essential because it removes barriers, builds confidence, creates a sense of belonging, and the three biggest drivers of participation in women's sports everywhere. I should have probably checked this a bit closer. Sorry. The aim of this talk is to encourage us all to continue to support this amazing process and see women's cycling develop. Feel free to chip in at any stage. So I've done a little basic checklist. I can come back to this. I probably should have put this at the end, but it depends what you're marketing. Are you marketing an event or awareness, or a club session? Are you doing it on your personal page, a professional page? So yeah, define the event. What is it for? Who is it for? Why it matters? Set clear objectives. Attendance, sales, awareness. I think often in marketing, the real basics can easily be missed. Don't overcomplicate it. Plan early. I am that person who will book as late as possible onto an event or a talk or something. But some people have very different kind of patterns and how they respond to things. Some people like to get their information extremely early. Some people like it last minute. Some people need reminders, some people don't. Yeah, how to create core content, key visuals, messaging and event information, clear details. I can share this after. I think most of this is stuff everyone's extremely good at anyway. So choose the channel. I think social media is very vast. Age is quite significant here. I'll come on to that a bit later. But yeah, email, website listing, partners, and local promotion. Save the date. None of this has to be perfect. A small save the date post or email is, really, really effective. Build awareness, yeah, drive conversation. This is a tricky one. I think you need to always figure out your capacity. If you're driving conversations and you haven't got the capacity to reply to messages, then just don't do that. Like I've got a WhatsApp channel, and I really like it because it doesn't generate discussion. We can share messages, but we're not always in a position to answer questions. We don't always want to share our personal details either, so navigating that is, down to individuals. Engage your audiences, regular updates, countdowns behind the scenes, respond to comments and questions, deliver capture content. Again, it doesn't have to be complicated. A quick photo in most settings. I think we're in an age where we can have really over-designed, complicated images, and actually just a picture of someone, a clean bike or something. It can be sometimes much more effective, or just a happy face. Yeah, review and learn, look at reach, engagement and attendance. As I mentioned before, sometimes you can send stuff out and it feels soul destroying because no one ever replies, but again, what we want is people on bikes. So how that looks is can be varied. Identify what works and improve for next time. So that's just a very basic checklist. So top tips. I felt awful writing key essentials because it feels a bit overwhelming, but I didn't want to put anyone off, but always be mindful of GDPR when you're doing anything around marketing or communication. Essentially, never share anyone's personal information unless you've got permission. Accessibility. Again, if you're using your personal pages, this isn't so essential, but we quite like. I see a lot of designs where we like to put a lot of text into images, and a high proportion of people have. If people have visual impairments, they'll be relying on screen readers. So if you've got too much text in an image, sometimes it'll make it quite hard for accessibility. So it does feel like a big minefield, but I think there's small nuances you can make just to make your content feel more accessible. Again, being bilingual is I know a few of us on this chat are Welsh speakers, and when I set up Merched Cycling, I specifically wanted it to be bilingual as it was targeted at a Welsh audience. But with translated tools now, it can be quite easy to make things bilingual, and it does make your any work or personal pages that you publish, it does make it quite like accessible, although it's often a requirement to be bilingual. I think it's already a core part of who we are. We are Welsh community, and the Welsh language is really rich part of our culture, and cycling I think sits alongside that. I pop safeguarding in because again we use like WhatsApp for sharing messaging again. And I did a safeguarding course a few months ago. And I think it's mindful of any safeguarding errors or issues, if you are communicating with young people. You always get permission with images. That can be easily resolved by just putting up a sign at an event you're holding, just to say we'll be capturing images, and a sign on. And again, with GDPR, if you're emailing people en masse, you just need consent. But again, there's so many tools and setups and permissions now that it's quite easy to implement that across social media and email methods. So any questions around that, please come back to me, because it does feel quite heavy, but it is just quite important to know in the background. So yeah, the basics I feel are the audience. So we're predominantly talking to women and girls. I think platforms are very wide and varied. However, most young people aren't using Facebook, for example. You'll find them on different platforms. However, if we're talking to parents, then Facebook is an excellent tool. As I mentioned before, I specifically chose Instagram to try and connect more with a set age group. But that's a consideration. What, where, and when, and who is what I hold in my thoughts mostly when I'm working. It's really easy to forget the basics, like where is it? I know this sounds ridiculous, but I do read stuff, and it's easy to forget what it is, where it is, and when it is. So what, where, when, and who is just something I when I'm working, I just recap on the basics. Branding is massive. I read somewhere how personal branding has become quite a big thing, and whether you like it or not, everyone has branding. There's lots of ways to look at it, but this article said that whether you like it or not, you have a personal brand, so you might as well work on it. But in terms of clubs, your logo and your style and your colors, I think, are quite consistently used. But yeah, messaging and tone is kind of who we are. It sounds quite cynical, but that style of delivering how we say things, people become familiar with it. So it does sound cynical, but it is a basic part of marketing. I think repetition is important, especially if you're running club events. I've got like case studies and inspiration, but if you're running like a weekly event, I do really feel for clubs who have like volunteer social people who manage the social media, but there's no harm in repeating messaging and getting it as simple as possible. Makes it actually quite attractive to beginners, because as we're so involved in cycling, we know like all the basics, we know the jargon, we know like the process. Whereas I think if you're repeating basic key messaging on your on a club channel or on your own channels, that there's no harm in that. I've just put avoid a sales pitch. I think we'd like just everywhere we look, there's just a million sales pitches left, right, and center. So I think if you are writing any like marketing content, I always tend to write things with a subtle sales pitch. The aim is to get people to come along to the cycling event, but make it subtle. If you want someone to book on, or pay some money or whatever it is, an outright book now, or I think there's quite a few cliches that are used, like you won't want to miss this, and I think we get saturated with that. So I'd always try and find more of an authentic, natural angle, just because we're just inundated with mass marketing messages otherwise. I put AI in, I mentioned it earlier, it's become a huge part of everyday life. It is really contentious in many areas, and rightfully so. It's a beast in itself, and it doesn't seem to be regulated as much as I think it probably will be, hopefully in future. But just linking that to GDPR, if you are using AI, I'd avoid putting any GDPR data into it. But if you're writing like the basic what, where's, and when's, just throw it into. I use Copilot a lot, or there's Chat GDP. There's a wealth of them, but you can use it as a prompt to proof anything, which is helpful to generate ideas. Yeah, it's a really useful tool that you can use. There's be useful of your resources as well, because there are so many social media channels. There's only so much time. I think I'm not suggesting limit what you can do, but there's going to be a point where you have to draw a line on what you can and can't do. So yeah, just to be mindful of resources. Now as well, we're seeing a lot more integration, so you can post on multiple channels simultaneously. So that's worth considering as well. And also, automations mean that you can schedule things well in advance. So if you are repeating what's on where, you can set it up in such a way that it can go out when you're on your holiday, or when you're not really wanting to be doing anything, because I think being stuck to a screen is not really why we want to be riding our bikes. So yeah, just skipping on to resources and platforms. So there's a huge difference between personal pages and professional options. Again, I set up Merched Cycling because my personal social media I keep private. I talk about my kids, and I'm not an influencer or anything like that. But Merched Cycling is a professional page, which gives me a whole host of other options that a personal page doesn't. I think there is a tendency in this day and age to really be open to the world with so much information about ourselves, but I think that's something that you should make as an individual decision to make as an individual. So club pages as well, sometimes there's a time and place to have private pages, and some where you can have them public. So think about how you maintain this. So most social media, as I said, is free. However, your time is the resource. The aim is to ride our bikes, not to be full-time marketing people. I don't want to. I'm really trying to avoid using jargon and like legal requirements and all that. But get whatever you publish, what, where, and when. The aim is to get people on bikes, so don't be overwhelmed by any of this. Integration, as I mentioned, and monitoring. So you'll see if something's effective. If you are promoting a cycling event, how people start booking on straight away. It might just be a set style or word or method or consistency. So if something is not working, is you have to plug away at it. There's no magic answer, but sometimes stuff does just work. So it's worth considering that. Sorry, I don't know if you can see that in the corner. I'll move that over. So case studies and inspirations. So I think we're all inspirations in our own way. We've all got our own methods and stories. And I think we all have a voice as well. So it's quite nice to be able to share inspiration. With like how we can, but I'd always be mindful to do what you can that make you're comfortable with, because I think sometimes people like to share stuff, but sometimes I don't want to share everything. So I think it's quite down to the individual how we want to share things. I've just put some case studies here, just because they stand out for me. I'm not being like this wasn't an award or anything, but I love what Towie Riders does with their like marketing. They're really good at doing bilingual marketing. They do. I think they're really consistent as well. It's really nice see what's on. It's inviting, but it's quite nice just to follow pages, obviously for updates, but also to see for inspiration as well. I put Llinvi BMX down because this is a cycling discipline that's entirely new to me. But I love what they do. And I remember the first time I went up to the BMX track, I looked at everything that they published on their Facebook, and it was so clear and condensed. It just felt welcoming. They put on like how much it would cost me to hire a helmet, a bike, what I needed, kind of times, conditions, just everything. It wasn't overwhelming, but it was just written in a way that was really clear, inviting. And although it was an entirely new discipline to me, I just thought I'd highlight them as an example of something I found quite inspirational, but just by following their social media. I put Ella Barnwell down as well, just because I think on a day-to-day basis, she's been excellent at just updating how she covers her training, her racing, and the process behind that. And it's just got a really warm and professional tone to it. As I mentioned earlier about AI, I remember using AI for our Women and Girls International Women's Day event at Carmarthen Track. And when I put it into proof, it came back and it just made it sound a little bit patronizing, if I'm honest. It was like, oh, come and have some cake. And it kind of made it sound all pink and flowery, whereas actually, there's an element of riding a bike that we love, that it is quite hard and it's not pink and flowery. So I think that process of using like trends and AI and how it's utilized is really really useful. But how we respond to different people online, there's inspiration everywhere. So how to draw on it. I put in trends because they can be methods to really boost anything that you're publishing or working on. But again, I'd be mindful of it. It's really easy just to jump on the bandwagon, but if it's not like reflective of your club and style and what you're trying to encourage or promote, then it's a minefield. So just to reassure you, I've only got two slides left. So I put metrics of success. This is specific if you're working on professional pages. So professional platforms provide insights that indicate growth. So our main outcome is to see more women and girls on bikes. Marketing platforms and channels are measurable. Reach helps drive impact, making it a useful way to track progress. So while this is specifically professional page insights, these are you're going to have this on your own pages. We just can't see that information. So there are going to be a set amount of people who will view a picture you publish. There'll be a set amount of people that will have an interaction with it, a set amount of like new followers or friends or whatever platform you're on, content shared. So this is just an example of a professional page I work on. So for context, I cover country parks and art centres, cycling. I've got quite a lot going on in my portfolio at the moment, but this is a professional dashboard. So if you send a story to Beicio Cymru, like this week, Fionn asked for stories on volunteers, this is what behind the scenes will be looking like. So many people will be viewing that story of a volunteer. So many people will be interacting with it. So many people will be possibly seeing it to follow. So if we can consistently put these nice stories out to Beicio Cymru and your club pages and your own pages, that amount of views that's going to have an impact of in some shape or form. So how we measure success is quite simply people on bikes. However, the backstory to how that works can look, really varied. But this is, I find, quite addictive. But I've just put here just a screenshot of some reels that I published on Merched Cycling, for example. And you can see in each corner how much each of them reached. So, for example, this is Annie. That was International Women's Day last year. Um, sorry, just so that reached 3,700 people. While I can't remember how many people turned up to the event, but while a set amount of people turned up to the event, we've got over 3,500 people seeing the impact of women on a bike, what that looks like. And however many saw that, I'm really hopeful that some woman somewhere will have seen it and thought, I can ride a bike. This is what it looks like, or we don't know what that looks like, but that 3,700 is much stronger than not publishing these things. This one here was the launch of Avon Forest Riders. Again, we had 2,400 people viewing that. You can see how many people turned up to that event, but all of a sudden we're sharing, guys, we've got this new women's mountain bike club in the Avon Forest. Like, hello, we're here. This one here was the track. I did a podium pictures. We had a women and girls cycling event there as well. Again, just women cycling on the track. We're familiar with these images, but not everybody is. This one was Battle on the Beach. So I'm trying to mix it up, but the aim is just visibility. This was Welsh cyclocross champs again. Welsh cyclocross is 1,000, and then I hit the jackpot this month, which is why I put it in down here in the corner. I've got we had the Olympic homecoming event in Carmarthen with Jess Roberts and Emma, and I tagged her and she shared it. So we've reached nearly 10,000 people. So while there were hundreds of kids there that day, but we're able to share these stories. So while riding a bike is our aim, if we can share these stories, they can be really powerful. So yeah, so sorry I can talk so much, but yeah, I'm really relief for you to say thank you and diolch. If you've got any questions, please do ask. But first and foremost, do keep in touch. I'm most accessible on Merched Cycling on Instagram, but I have put my email there. But I am in the Fion's Women and Girls Beicio Cymru's WhatsApp as well. So whenever you want to share anything, if I can, I do pick it up and share it out to everyone. So yeah, thanks so much. And any questions?
I just want to say how amazing that was, Lizzy. I found that incredibly interesting and informative. So thank you so much. And you are also an incredible speaker. So well done. Oh.
I do actually encourage them, would like any support with anything. I'd be more than happy to help. So
Sorry, I think my Wi-Fi froze just as I wanted to say something. Can you hear me?
Sorry. Yes, yeah.
I don't know if you heard anything I said, but just to say that was really interesting and informative, Lizzy, and I think you speak incredibly. So thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, any questions? Yeah.
I had a question, Lizzy, if you don't mind.
Yeah, hello, Anna.
Hello. Do you know what? Firstly, just to say thank you so much. Honestly, that was so interesting. And I love, honestly, Lizzy, your enthusiasm is so infectious. I love it when you talk about cycling. So yeah, thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. I feel like I'm not so good at social media. And one of the things that worries me is, like the immediacy of it. So, if you have an event or you do a ride that you're hoping to promote, you feel like you have to do it sort of instantly there and then. And then if you leave it 24 hours and it's sort of things subside and then you feel like it's too late to post on social media. Do you know what I mean around that? In that things feel quite instant, but is it sort of, I guess it's still worth doing if it's like 24 hours, 48 hours after? One of the things I struggle with social media is just sort of like keeping up with it and the communications around it. Do you have any tips around that?
Yeah, I it's really easy for social media to control us, if I'm honest. I'll also confess I recently bought into I set lots of locks on my own social media, so I'm not I want to ride my bike, not look at my phone, for example. I think in terms of immediacy, people do, we live in a 24-hour culture where we want that information there and then. But I think if we can't do that, like take cyclocross, if you've got like 4 bikes to clean and work the next day and a lot of mud to hoover off the carpet, or that I think if we're gonna be talking about something, a few days or a few weeks or even a few months after, I don't think that's an issue. You don't want to be dictated by, oh no, I've got to do this or it's too late. I mentioned trends. It's really easy to get stuck with what everybody else is doing. But my own motto, you just got to be yourself. If you can't get it out that day and it's got to be a week or two or a few months later, then I don't see an issue with that. Like if you're having the best time on your bike, time is for having the best time on your bike, not for sharing on Instagram. I think if you're doing it professionally, then you would have to plan ahead and be publishing that. But for our own channels or for club channels, I think it would be absolutely fine to be saying, as an example for you, if it helps, like just to recap on this breeze ride we did, 4 months ago, or you don't have to put a time scale, but I don't think that's an issue. Well, essentially, we don't really want social media to control us, because it just becomes, it can be addictive. Does that answer your question, Anna?
It does, thank you. I think it's tricky, isn't it? Because it's sort of a balance between the social media that you're using for work or for, for women and girls cycling, as opposed to your own personal social media and how you feel about it. So I think it's like, you're right, it's a tricky balance sometimes to find. So no, it does help. Thank you. I think sometimes I feel if we've done an event and I haven't posted it within 24 hours, I think it's too late. But I like your idea of going back and doing a recap later on. I think even if we leave it a week, 2 weeks, it doesn't matter. It's still worth putting out there. So yeah, it does answer. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, like I think there was like a trend on like Throwback Thursdays, that kind of thing. If it's specifically like for breeze rides or a club page that is a professional page, you could set basics in advance, just like a post that says thanks for coming, and you could do that like 3 weeks before the event. So if you did want that kind of thing, but yeah, how you word it, I'll try and think of some wording and let you know that could do that retrospectively, but yeah, I wouldn't get too hung up on it. Like for instance, I've got loads of stuff I still haven't put out, because life is more important, it really is. Yeah.
Thank you, Lizzy.
Oh, thank you, Anna.
Can you hear me now? Are you able to hear
Yeah.
me? I'm so sorry. I think my Wi-Fi literally just cut out as I was about to speak, so I don't know how that happened. But yeah, just to echo what Anna said, Lizzy, I thought that was so interesting and informative. I'm actually running my own event this year, and I've set up my own Instagram account recently for that. Feel like I'm learning a lot as I do it, so it's definitely like something you just kind of have to try, and I think you learn as I go along. And I feel like I'm learning what works as I kind of get more followers that seem to come in after every post I do. But one of the main things I'm aiming for is consistency. I think you mentioned that, and I thought that was really important. But yeah, just to say, if you can share your slides, it would be incredible, because that checklist I'll definitely go through those top tips. Yeah, loads of different things that I've not really considered. And yeah, really, really useful. So thank you. I feel like I could say, so like I want to almost like delve into so much you spoke about then, like all of the stuff on AI, the stuff around like getting that balance with like being on social media and being in reality, and there's just so much more you can talk about. But yeah, just to say that was super useful. So thank you.
Oh, well, good luck with your event. Do you want to plug it now, or
Yeah,
yeah,
you can give me a follow. It's
yeah,
Gilwan Pump Track Jam um, on Instagram. Yeah, literally just set it up a few months ago, but I'm up to nearly 100 followers, so it's going well.
yeah.
But I'm quite enjoying. I feel like I'm, as I just said, learning as I'm doing it. I'm quite enjoying learning about something new. Marketing is definitely a new world for me. So yeah, but brilliant. Thank you very much, Lizzy, for that.
Oh, well done to the 100 followers. Because I think we live in an age where we're expected to have like, success is measured by thousands of followers. But if you've got 100 key people engaged, then that is really effective. We're inundated with like influencers and
Yeah.
that sharing everything, and it does feel like it's a minefield, but what works for your specific area is that's the most essential, that's what's important.
Definitely. And I think I had 2 points I wanted to raise actually as well. I think one of them was I think about like collabing and sharing sort of like other people's posts as like and tagging people is probably a good way to reach a new audience. So for example, at my event, I've got some like local businesses who are either sponsoring it or supporting the event or coming along. So kind of like collabing with them on posts. That's not something I've done yet, but tagging people who will reshare it seems to be like another good way to reach a new audience. And then the question I had for you, so far I've only done Instagram posts. What's the trend now? Should I be doing stories? Is that and also Instagram, I've got this new like instance thing, which is I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's your advice?
Oh, it's an ever-changing science, I guess. But
Mm.
um I definitely recommend, I think in your case, when you go to publish it, there's a schedule option. So you can just, if you wanted to spend like half an hour just um getting planning it ahead, and it'll do it for you in the background.
Okay.
But in terms of like what works best, again, I think it comes back to the age group. But yeah, stories are great. Anything's great. Just figure what works best, but
Yeah.
to be mindful of your capacity as well, because sometimes I'll be really consistent at publishing on Merched Cycling, and other times I'll be honest, a number of weeks will go past, and or like Anna said, if I'm actually doing a lot of coaching and cycling and being at events, sometimes doing social media is not really my priority. So yeah, what works, I just keep doing what you're doing, but repurposing is the best option if you want reach, because instead of having to do lots of different things, you can just put the same thing in lots of places.
Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks, Lizzy.
Any other questions? I did not think I'd be able to talk for that long. I don't know whether to feel ashamed or proud.
Oh, it just shows you're an expert, Lizzy, in the topic. I bet you could have talked for much longer.
Yeah, probably.
Anyone else have any other questions or points they want to raise? Maybe.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Lizzy. That was awesome. So yeah, just one or two things to mention. Um, so yeah, I had one thing to mention, which is about Project Fierce, which is probably something a lot of you heard of. But they have some really, really useful resources. So, bit of background, they're a research team based in Bristol, and they did some research into why women mountain bike. From that, they've kind of like found various different reasons why women mountain bike, and they've created some resources. So they created the Fierce Toolkit and the Fierce Inclusive Event Guidelines, which are basically all about how we can sort of like market our events or market our clubs and communities to be really attractive to women. And And yeah, they've got some really useful stuff in there. And the inclusive event guidelines, I'm trying to kind of pick a few points from that when I'm doing my Gill and Pump Track Jam, because I didn't get very many girls or women attend last year. So I'm trying to see how I can make it a little bit more of an attractive event for women this year. So I'll share the link to that in the chat, because I really recommend having a read. I think they also have an Instagram account where they share like really nice, good news stories about women in mountain biking as well, and plenty of Welsh examples. So that's really, really good. And then just to plug a couple of upcoming events. So the next one of these will be on Thursday, the 30th of July. So for that, we're going to be joined by Lindsay Hanley. Actually, Lizzy's already mentioned her because she is the founder and chairperson of the Women's Mountain Bike Club, Avon Forest Riders. So she's going to join us to kind of talk about her experience of setting up a women's club, why she did it, and her learnings from that. So hopefully that will be quite an inspiring talk. So that's on Thursday, the 30th of July. And then on Monday, June the 15th, which is only just over a week's time, we're doing a Tour de France focused session. So it's looking at our legacy plan for the Tour de France, and how we're going to use that major event coming to Wales next year as an opportunity to grow cycling. So if you're interested in that, and I know it is quite an interesting topic, so people will hopefully you'll get a good turnout for it, then you can sign up to that. It'll be advertised on the Beicio Cymru website. And I think that's it, plugging things from my end. If anyone else has any events or resources or anything they want to share, then please do. That gives me a moment to put a link or two in the chat. So I'm just going to put the Fierce links in. No one nothing to share? No? Okay, that's fine. Anyway, I'm going to send out, you may have also seen that there's only been one so far, but we started like a Woman in Cycling newsletter as well, a Beicio Cymru newsletter. We'll be sharing sort of like recent articles, good news stories, upcoming events, and the replays from this in the Woman in Cycling space. So because you've all signed up to one of these Zoom calls, you should be receiving this. They'll usually look to go out the week after we do one of these calls. So I'll share that next week. So I'll have this recording. Lizzy, maybe you can share the slides as well from this, and we could share them on that too. And yeah, we'll share any sort of like upcoming events in the Women in Cycling space as well. Cool. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.